Competency is an array of essential knowledge, skills, and abilities required to successfully perform a specific task. Knowledge is the condition of being aware of something that is required through training and or experience. Skill is the ability to physically perform an activity or task. It includes physical movement, coordination, dexterity, and application of knowledge. Ability is the capacity or aptitude to perform physical or mental activities that are associated with a particular task. Competencies often serve as the basis for standards that specify the level of knowledge and skills required to successfully perform tasks in the workplace. It can be used as a measurement criteria for assessing attainment. Example, a person has to reach certain level of competency to be considered successfully completing a task. It can also describe the degree of expertise. Example, the person is highly competent. Objectives, it is specific, written in behavioral terms, contains action verbs that are observable and measurable. It identifies what behaviors a participant must demonstrate in order to confirm the intended learning occurred. A learning objective is an explicit statement that clearly expresses what the participant will be able to do at the completion of the course or program. Next, but not the outcomes, providing the measurable effects the program will accomplish. When outcomes are reached, new goals and objectives may need to be set. But when outcomes are not achieved, it may be time to recess. Rather, outcomes come in many different shapes and sizes. And while some are quite common, example number of people served, others are extremely unique. Outcomes can be quantitative or qualitative, and the only limitation on creating outcomes are the measurability and imagination. Do not shy away from creative outcomes as long as you can develop a method to measure them. That's all.
Good day, everyone. Today we will discuss and elaborate more importance of having an objectives or planning for your goals. So let's start. We have this SMART: S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time. So let's start with the specific. When we say specific, it is about clearly defined or identified. So we should address the 5 W's. So what are these 5 W's? First, we have the who, what, when, where, and why. When we say who is involved sa inyong planning, sa inyong nais isagawa. What? Ano yung mga dapat isaalang-alang? Kailangan ba ng materials? Kailangan bang ayusin yung design ng stage? Yung sound? When? Kailan ito gaganapin? Ano yung araw na hindi ka ganun ka-busy, na walang destructive event or kahit ano pa man? When we say where, saan ito magaganap? And why? Bakit nais mong gawin itong plan na ito? So make sure the goal specifies what needs to be done with a time frame for completion. Kasi yung time frame that will serve as our guidelines kung anong araw tayo mag-schedule, kung anong araw natin ito gagawin, at kung anong araw tayo matatapos. So use or take actions like creating, designing, developing, implementing, produce, and etc. So, yan yung mga mahalagang bagay na dapat nating pagtuunan ng pansin. Be specific. Huwag masyadong broad or hindi mo makita ng maayos yung goal dahil napakarami mong gustong gawin or gustong iplano. Dapat mag-focus ka sa kung ano lang ang nais mong kung ano lang yung nasa objectives, kung ano lang yung plano. So, example, resolve accounting discrepancies within 48 hours. So, ayan. Next, we have this measurable. It's include having a goal objectives, the indicated numeric or descriptive measures that define the quantity, quality, cost, and etc. So, you will come up with this question: how will you and your staff member know when the goal has been successfully met? So, kailangan ma-measure mo kung tama ba, sakto ba yung pangangailangan ng plano mo. Focus on elements such as observable actions, quantity, quality, cycle time, efficiency, and or flexibility to measure outcomes, not the activities. So, para mas maintindihan, this means that you need to identify exactly what it is you will see, hear, feel when you reach your goal. So, ano sa tingin mo yung kalalabasan kung ganito yung ilalagay mo, kung ganito yung pupunan mo sa objectives or plan mo? Being flexible. Possible na mangyari ito dahil mini-measure mo nga yung outcomes ng iyong plan. So, that is measurable. Then, when we say achievable, goal objectives should be within the staff members' control and influence. So, ibig sabihin, kung nais mong higit na maging feasible or possible na maganap itong plan mo, mag-i-start ito sa mga namumuno or yung may control sa inyong plano. So, ito yung ating mga members, yung mga influencer, mga officers, sila, sa kanila mag-i-start. A goal may be a stretch but still feasible. Ibig sabihin, possible to happen, possible to do, capable of being used or dealt with successfully. Yung goal nyo ba achievable? Kung ito lang ang resources, available resources na kaya nyo? Is the goal achievable within the time frame originally outlined? You must consider the authority or control, the influence, the resources, and work environment to meet the goal. For example, obtain the XYZ professional certification within 2 years. So, ayun yung when you say achievable, possible siya at nakikita mo na mangyayari ito. So, ayan. Next is the relevant. Goals should be instrumental to the mission of the department. Why is the goal important? So, when we say relevant, anong benefits ang makukuha mo dito kung sakaling ito ang gagawin mo? Ano ba ang purpose ng plano mo? Ng plan mo or ng objectives mo? Halimbawa dito, develop and implement a diversity recruitment plan that increases the number of diversity candidates by 10%. So, ibig sabihin, kapag nag-develop ka daw ng diversity recruitment plan, matataasan nito ang number of diversity candidates ng 10%. So, doon pala makikita mo na may benefits, may purpose kung bakit mo to ginagawa. Halimbawa ay gagawa ka ng magpaplano ka ng isang tutorial. Nais mong matuto yung mga students mo kung paano magkulay, sabihin natin ganon. So, paano ito magiging useful? Para saan ito? Anong purpose nito? Purpose nito, pagdating ng panahon, madali nilang makukonbine ng mga colors, madali nilang makakapag-design kung anong tamang isama at hindi isama sa mga palay ng mga colors na ito. So, dun pa lang, napaka-relevant na niya. So, yan ang kahulugan ng relevant. The benefits or the purpose of your plan. And last is for the time. Goals, objectives should identify a definite target date for completion, for specific action steps that are important for achieving the goal. So, ibig sabihin, yung oras kailangan ay maisagawa mo ng maayos. So, ibig sabihin, halimbawa, ngayong araw, mahatiin ko yung oras ko, tagi-isang oras magagawa ko to, matatapos ko itong plano. Gagawa ng proposal, magpa-plan para sa design, and then susunod na araw, yung stage naman. So, ibig sabihin, meron kang time, specific dates, meron kang calendar milestone or time frames na related to the achievement of another result. So, yan ang kahulugan ng time. Yung pagkakaroon mo ng time frame or calendar milestone na gusto mong masunod. Halimbawa, check the fire alarms and emergency lighting in all buildings every 6 months. So, ayan lamang po at maraming salamat.
Welcome to my world. This is me, Angel Almerol, one of the reporters for today. Now we will tackle about the cognitive and Bloom's taxonomy. The first one is Bloom's taxonomy in the cognitive domain. It is more on knowledge basis, and under it is knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. In the screen, you will see the Bloom's taxonomy old and new version. In old version, you will see our original version name the different structure based on the nature of the learning task. The lower part is knowledge, second comprehension, third application, fourth analysis, fifth synthesis, and sixth evaluation. That was the original or old taxonomy. The other one or the revised taxonomy is based on what we want learners to do, which is more congruent with the nature and purpose of objectives. And in the new version, you will see the lowest part is remembering, second understanding, third applying, fourth analyzing, fifth evaluating, and sixth creating. In these two versions, you will see the differences of it. In the structure of the cognitive process dimension of the revised taxonomy, it is the new. The first one you will see the remember is the lower part, that is retrieving relevant knowledge from long-term memory. Example of it, recognizing and recalling. Second one is understand. Understand is determining the meaning of the instructional messages, including oral, written, and graphic communication. Example of it is interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, and explaining. The third one is apply. It is carrying out or using a procedure in a given situation. Example of it is executing and implementing. The fourth one is analyze. Breaking material into its constituent parts and detecting how the parts relate to one another and to an overall structure or purpose. Example of it is differentiating, organizing, and attributing. The fifth one is evaluate, making judgments based on the criteria and standards. Example of it is checking and critiquing or criticizing. Sixth one is create or creating. It is putting elements together to form a novel, coherent whole or make an original product. Example of it is generating, planning, and producing. The top 5 categories, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate, and create, might also be considered deep learning, while remember might be considered more congruent with surface learning. See the coral collection surface in deep learning. Educators and teachers often make the mistake of assuming that those who can remember facts can then also complete those more important higher order tasks. We often fall into this trap because people who can analyze, evaluate, and create higher order learning can also remember the details and facts. No, that is a logical fallacy and an empirical delusion. Just because learners can remember, especially if they can only recognize as in multiple choice question, does not mean that they can complete higher order tasks such as analyzing or evaluating. That's all. Thank you.
The Weiss-Bloom Taxonomy, 2001, by Anderson and Krathwohl. Meron itong 6 levels. Ito yung remembering, understanding, apply, analyzing, evaluate, and create. Yung first level is remembering. Remembering is a recall fact and basic concept. Remembering is retrieve, recall, or recognize relevant knowledge from long-term memory. Bali dito yung mga natutunan mo na natatandaan mo pa. Second level is understanding. Demonstrate comprehension through one or more forms of explanation. Understanding is making sense of what you have learned. Dito naman yung pagkakaunawa mo. Halimbawa, yung pagkakaunawa mo dun sa isang topic, yun yung understanding. Kung anong natutunan mo dun, yun. And yung pangatlo is apply. It is information or a skill in a new situation. Use information in new situation. Yun yung apply. And pang-apat na level is analyzing. Analyzing is a draw connection among ideas. Dito pumapasok yung inaayos mo na siya base sa pagkakasunod-sunod doon. And yung panglimang levels is evaluate. Evaluate is justify a stand or decision. Evaluate, make a judgment based on criteria and standard. At yung last is create. Produce new original work. Put elements together to form a new functional whole. Reorganize element into a new pattern or structure. Kabilang naman dito sa create na to is yung arrange, contrast, combine, compose, constitute, develop, design, formulate, generate, integrate, modify, organize, perform, plan, prepare, produce, impurpose. I propose. At meron namang affective domain. Ito yung receiving, responding, valuing, organization, characterization. First is receiving, involving passively paying attention and being aware of the existence of certain ideas, materials, or phenomena. Diyan naman yung mga information na mga nakakalap mo na information, diyan yun. And next is responding, actively participating in the learning process. You are not only aware of a stimulus but reacting to it in some way. Bali dyan yung magiging response mo dun sa topic. Kung anong magiging reaction mo tungkol dun. Ganon. And next is valuing. Ability to see the value or worth of something and express it. Diyan naman yung kung kailangan nakikita mo dapat yung value nung isang bagay. And next is organizing. Organizing is putting together different value, information, and ideas and relating them to already held beliefs or to create your own unique value system. And the last is characterizing. Characterizing is acting consistently in accordance with the value you have to internalize. Yun lang. Thank you.
Psychomotor domain. The psychomotor domain includes physical movement, coordination, and use of the motor skill areas. Development of these skills requires practice and is measured in terms of speed, precision, distance, procedures, or techniques in execution. Thus, psychomotor skills range from manual tasks such as digging a ditch or washing a car to more complex piece of machinery or dancing. The Simpsons psychomotor domain is especially useful for the development of children and young people, and for developing skills in adults that take people out of their comfort zones like. The Dave's psychomotor domain is the simplest and generally easiest to apply in the corporate development environment. Both models offer different emotional perspectives and advantages. Check the relevance and importance of each before you implement. Simpson's psychomotor domain for the category perception, awareness, the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. This ranges from sensory stimulation through cue selection to translation. Examples of the perception: detects nonverbal communication cues, estimate where a ball will land after it is thrown and then moving to the correct location to catch the ball, adjust heat of stove to correct temperature by smell and taste of food, adjust the height of the forks on a forklift by comparing where the forks are in relation to the pallet. Keywords for the perception: chooses, describes, detects, differentiates, distinguishes, identifies, isolates, relates, and selects. Mechanism or basic proficiency. This is the intermediate stage in learning a complex skill. Learned responses have become habitual and the movements can be performed with some confidence and proficiency. Examples of a mechanism: use a personal computer, repair a leaking faucet, and then drive a car. Keywords: assemble, calibrates, constructs, dismantles, displays, fastens, fixes, grinds, heats, manipulates, measures, mends, mixes, organizes, sketches. Set, re- readiness to act. It includes mental, physical, and emotional sets. These three sets are dispositions that predetermine a person's response to different situations, sometimes called mindsets. Examples of set: know and acts upon a sequence of steps in a manufacturing process, recognizing one's ability and limitations, shows desire to learn a new process or motivation. Note: this subdivision of psychomotor is closely related with the responding to phenomena subdivision of the affective domain. Keywords for the set: begins, displays, explains, moves, proceeds, reacts, shows, states, volunteers. Guided response: the early stage in learning a complex skill that includes imitation and trial and error. Adequacy of performance is achieved by practicing. Examples of guided response: performing a mathematical equation as demonstrated, follows instruction to build a model, responds hand signals of instructor while learning to operate a forklift. Keywords: copies, traces, follows, react, reproduce, responds. Complex overt response or expert: the skillful performance of motor acts that involves complex movement patterns. Proficiency is indicated by a quick, accurate, and highly coordinated performance requiring a minimum of energy. This category includes the performing without hesitation and automatic performance. For example, players are often utter sounds of satisfaction or expletives as soon as they hit a tennis ball or throw a football, because they can tell by the feel of the act what the result will produce. Examples: maneuvers a car into a tight parallel parking spot, operates a computer quickly and accurately, displays competence while playing the piano. Keywords: assembles, builds, calibrates, constructs, dismantles, displays, fastens, fixes, grinds, heats, manipulates, measures, mends, mixes, organizes, sketches. Note: the keywords are the same as mechanism, but will have adverbs or adjectives that indicate that the performance is quicker, better, more accurate. Adaptation: skills are well developed and the individual can modify movement patterns to fit special requirements. Examples: responds effectively to unexpected experiences, modifies instruction to meet the needs of the learners, perform a task with a machine that it was not originally intended to do. Machine is not damaged and there is no damage in performing the new task. Keywords: adapts, alters, changes, rearranges, reorganizes, revises, and varies. Origination: creating a new movement patterns to fit a particular situation or specific problem. Learning outcomes emphasize creativity based upon highly developed skills. Examples: constructs a new theory, develops a new comprehensive training programming, and creates a new gymnastic routine. Keywords: arranges, builds, combines, composes, constructs, creates, designs, initiates, makes, and originates. In Dave's psychomotor domain, the category number 1, imitation, observing and patterning behavior after someone else. Performance may be low of quality. Example: copying a work of art while performing a skill while observing a demonstrator. Keywords: copy, follow, mimic, repeat, replicate, reproduce, and trace. Manipulation: being able to perform certain actions by memory or following instructions. Examples: being able to perform a skill once own after taking lessons or reading about it. Follow instructions to build a model. Keywords: act, build, execute, perform. Precision: refining, becoming more exact, performing a skill within a high degree of precision. Examples: working and reworking something so it will be just right, performing a skill or task without assistance, and demonstrate a task to a beginner. Keywords: calibrate, demonstrate, master, and perfectionism. Articulation: coordinating and adapting a series of actions to achieve harmony and internal consistency. Example: combining a series of skills to produce a video that involves music, drama, color, sound, and etc. Combining a series of skills or activities to meet novel requirement. Keywords: adapt, constructs, combine, creates, customize, modifies, and formulate. Naturalization: mastering a high-level performance until it becomes second nature or natural, without needing to think much about it. Examples: maneuvers a car into a tight parallel parking spot, operates a computer quickly and accurately, displays competence while playing the piano, Michael Jordan playing basketball or Nancy Lopez hitting a golf ball. Keywords: create, design, develop, invent, manage, and naturally.